Okay, so my name is David Blutenthal, and I'm the founder and CEO of MoodSnap. And actually, this relates to the last talk that we heard about licensing and sort of creative structures to get around certain things to actually turn this into a product and into a business, which I can talk about later, but I do think it's really important here. So basically, this is trying to solve the pain points of music discovery of what do I want to listen to right now? And how people usually make that decision is based off of how they feel and what they're doing in a given moment. So, you know, I could be sitting in a coffee shop on a rainy day, or I could be driving on the way home from work. I could be going for a walk in the park, and you know, I'm thinking about my girlfriend, and I just want to listen to songs that kind of like remind me of her, of that. So there's so many different mood and activity-based discovery apps out there today, but I think everyone's kind of getting it wrong because they're taking the human element out of it. They're giving people long lists of moods like melancholic and sad and things like that, or they're kind of giving interfaces with a grid of I'm between this and this and between that and this, and it's really hard to make sense of that. So what I'm basically, the hypothesis here with MoodSnap is combining music and visual imagery. And so this is essentially a Pandora-type radio experience through photographs as the category, as the indicator for what you want to listen to. So right now we have 3 different thematic strips, mood strips, so this is daily flow. And intentionally, there's no names for these categories. We're not saying, coffee shop or running, because at the end of the day, this is one way that an activity like this can be shown. But if it was a picture of someone running in the wintertime by the Charles River here, and you had frost in your beard, and you see your breath, that's a different experience. It's a different kind of music that people would associate with it. So what we basically do is we provide a bunch of different photographs of things that are kind of part of your daily flow, maybe. We have another strip called Forever Young. So like, what is the musical soundtrack to a photo like that? And how is it different from something like this? Or that? They're all kind of party, energetic, fun scenes, but like, you just think in your mind, like, you look at this and you hear stuff. You're like, that's a certain kind of party vibe, and this is a different kind of party vibe. And as we travel down, things are a little more maybe ambiguous, so like I think I look at this and I see freedom, and I see hope, and I see inspiration, and a lot of different things, and a photo speaks 1,000 words, so why can't it also speak 1,000 songs? So the whole user experience is literally just choosing something that feels right to hear something that feels right. It's a one-tap solution to discovering music, and all of these songs are curated to that photograph. The way that happens is through a collaborative, community-based experience. So the users are literally assigning these songs to this photograph. I'm tapping this lower button on the left, this little plus button, and it says, right now, you have to be a Spotify Premium member in order to contribute, but it says, contribute a song to this MoodSnap by typing the name of an artist. I can add anything I want. I can preview it here and listen to a full preview. And then when I add it to the station, it is now in this playlist for other people to listen to. It's not completely random what plays, though. These playlists are also personalized to your taste, because that's another big problem out there. If you go on Spotify and you're searching for a running playlist in their new browse feature, you're going to get 500 running playlists, and maybe Spotify curated 2 of them, and the rest of them are user-based, and one is called Run, and one's called Running, and one's called Best Running, and you have to look through and parse through and spend a lot of time and work and effort, deciding that I don't want to run to Miley Cyrus today. So the point of this is that you should be able to tap that photo and have something that knows what you like and fits the context of how you feel and what you're doing. The way we let that happen is, so this little button on the center on the bottom, that's our avatar logo. When you tap that, you have a few choices. I can save the song to favorites so I can bookmark it for later to listen to on demand anytime. I can show love to the contributor who added that song, saying, hey, this is a great fit for this station, so that it functions like a like button. I can dislike the song and give the app a data point that this doesn't fit my taste, which helps the app learn and continue to provide me a better personalized experience. And then lastly, on the very top, it's doesn't fit this station. So we let the user community not only curate these stations, but also regulate what should or shouldn't be on there. And that's how we prevent things like, what was it? Go to here. On a station like this, and someone adds Megadeth because they think it's hilarious, or maybe they actually meditate or practice yoga in Megadeth, it flags that and removes it from the system. So if enough people do that in a short period of time, it does that. So basically, these are not playlists because it doesn't have an endpoint, and it's not really a radio station, but it's an evolving channel based on real-time user co-curation. We incentivize people to contribute music to this through a bit of a gamified system. So the 68 hearts that's 68 instances when somebody hearted one of my tracks that liked that. If they bookmark it, I get more points, and we basically have, my rank is slipping. I have to do something about that later. So we have a leaderboard, and the more people who like your stuff and listen to your stuff, the higher your rank rises. And ultimately, this is a platform for different kinds of social interaction, for discovering music through curators. So I could look at who's number one, size 18 border. So I could tap his profile and say, that's not good. Let's try this guy. Uh-oh. Oy vey, strike two. So something's down with that. So I would see all of the songs that they've contributed, and I can be like, wow, this girl's got great taste. I'm going to follow them. And now all of their stuff weighs more heavily into my listening experience. So what's basically happening here is there's two types of users who use this app. There's people who want a lean-back listening experience, who just want to consume music very quickly and doing it through the instincts and the simplicity of visual imagery. And then there's the curators, the lean-forward listeners who want to play the game and look at these photos and have great ideas of what fits and things like that. The direction that it's ultimately going here is letting people add their own photographs and build photo-inspired stations among your friends and among your community. And it could be, taking a snap out the window here at the Charles River in Boston and sharing it with your friends, and all of a sudden you have a soundtrack to that picture. So, we're early enough as a product that we're still experimenting with all this on, should we continue providing images that are evocative and inspire a certain feeling or a certain mood, versus opening it up and having it be more of a curated experience. So, that's the basic overview on everything. I really want to open it up early to questions because I want this to be more of a conversation. This is something new, the idea of sort of taking a photo as album artwork and then letting the world say, well, what is the album? What is the soundtrack to that artwork? I just would love to hear people's feedback and opinions on that. And then I'm happy to, if you want to hear about the licensing side of it, I can touch on it because clearly there's some interactive elements and there's some non-interactive elements, and it's a bit complex. Thank you.
So David, I've got a question. When I first heard of MoodSnap, the thing that popped into my mind and what I thought you were doing, and I thought, how the hell are they doing that? That would be magic, is that the idea that a playlist was based off a photo was that the software was reading the photo and analyzing it to figure out how many people were there, what the colors were, what the kind of mood of it was.
Yeah.
Is that something that you'd work towards as a kind of a analysis kind of thing of the photographs?
I certainly think it's possible, and from a data play and as a B2B business model, to be able to have not only a collection of songs that are somehow algorithmically mapped to photos based on color, based on facial expressions, based on context of what's happening in the scene. But you could flip the model too, and now you can say, here's a song. What are the 20, 30 photographs that connect with that song? And now you have lots of use applications. So you look at, people who listen to Pandora radio on their TV at home, or XM, satellite radio, Apple TV. Instead of looking at the company's ugly logo and the album cover, you can now have a visual slideshow of imagery that reinforces that mood of what you're listening to. And whether it's you're having people over for a dinner party, or you're giving a much more visual and engaging soundtrack to contextualize that experience. But what I think is really compelling and interesting about this, at least at this point, is that it requires human judgment and taste and memories to make these associations, and we all have them. When music sort of, as I think David said earlier, like makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, it forms like this music memory, and I have them in all kinds of situations. And whenever I hear certain songs, it kind of brings me back to those moments. And those are my experiences. We don't all have the same, but there potentially is a lot of overlap. So, if I'm a big snowboarder and I have my go-to playlist that I know what I listen to when I'm snowboarding, if I can contribute those to something like this and turn other people on to great music for snowboarding, I think the test is most of the time, how much is that going to hit the target, and how simple is that for somebody to be like, I can consume it this way.
When you showed this to me the other night,
Yeah.
You showed me a road trip photo. Have you got that?
Which
just
one?
Put it up. The road trip.
Oh yeah. This.
Okay, yeah. So to me, that's road trip. That's the desert. That's the wind in your hand, and
Yeah.
you're driving a long way. That's not a commute, right?
Right.
And the song that popped into my head was "Whole Lotta Love" by Led Zeppelin, right? And I thought, that is the perfect song for that picture in my mind, right? And then my next thought, and I didn't tell you this at the time, was, oh my God, what if I've done it wrong? What if all of the other songs do not fit that song? And I hadn't, because I was contributing a song without actually looking at the context of the playlist. Does that, A, is that a good thing? Does that kind of encourage eclecticism? Or B, did I actually just do the process wrong?
It's interesting. You're not the first to say that, and I think there really is no wrong, because the point of contribution, it's whatever you think, but how long it stays in the station has to do with sort of the community. And if enough people say, this doesn't belong here, it'll get kicked out. But I think a challenge for us, and maybe it has to do with sort of how we tell the story in the app, and it's sort of a little bit of hand-holding and saying, don't worry, have fun. If you think it's not right, it doesn't matter, just go with your gut, right? That will sort of, that'll knock down that thought in your head, and you can be free and have more fun with it. But there is, I think, I've got feedback that, what I think isn't what everyone else thinks, so I'm not so sure I want to add this and screw up the playlist. And to me, that's not what it's really about. It's coming from a place of broader creativity and sort of looser rules, but the technology in the stations ends up regulating it anyway. Yeah.
Other questions?
I'd like to hear from you. Is there a specific niche of photo or person that's really gravitating towards your app? And another, I guess, part of that usage question is, are you finding people are replacing their main listening outlet with MoodSnap or anything like that? I
mean, we haven't hit the kind of stride yet that I can say that enough people are replacing it as their go-to outlet that we've had, this product market fit yet. And as far as customer discovery and segmentation, we're also still trying to figure out exactly who the customer is. And an interesting thing is I have meetings often with older people who are more removed from music discovery. I mean, let's just say, an investor, I don't know, somebody who, I give them a profile, mid-50s, loves music, listens to Pandora, likes Mumford & Sons and the Lumineers, but doesn't really know what else to look for, and they're bored of listening to the same stations. But they'd love to discover new music. They just don't know where to go, and they're not going to look through Pitchfork and if they even know it exists. So this is something that they say, you really built something for me, and I don't use music apps because I don't know what these different subgenres and what these things are, but I know, like, I would love to listen to this chill desert road trip playlist, and if I expect that I'm going to hear things that I'm going to like, and I'm going to discover new things as well, then that's a win. You think that's on? Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Thematically, you can do anything. I mean, we can do a historical station, take things with Getty Images, license photos of from the Vietnam War, or you know things like that. And what is the stories of those photos and of the time period, or speakeasies in the 1920s, and to be able to just, I mean, you know, it could be anything ultimately, and. So I think in one sense, that's a user base, but that's not an early adopter. The early adopters are us and people who have their finger on the pulse and are listening to things. And you know what we're hoping to prove is that enough the early adopters will really get into the curation side of it that provides the listening experience for everybody else to just simply consume. Yeah. Oh. I'll start here just because he has the mic, and then we'll... Sorry.
Hey. So, could you talk a little bit about the tech stack?
About what?
The tech stack, like what do you use for technology?
Oh, the technology. Okay, I'll do my best because I'm pretty non-technical. So well, we use a couple APIs. We use the Echo Nest for some energy sorting within the stations. I didn't show you this, but if you're on the player, you could switch tracks by swiping left, but you could also swipe up or down to say, I want something with a little more energy. Whoop, swipe up. I want a track that's a little more mellow. Whoop, swipe down. And that's, you know, there's really great APIs that can let us do things like that. But you know, the back-end database, we basically use Amazon Web Services, so it's very scalable. It's built in PHP at the moment. We might change that, especially if we're creating lots of user accounts, and sort of that's going to grow and scale a lot. But this is the first iteration of the back-end, and then you know, the rest is programmed in a native Objective-C, you know, for iOS. That's pretty much the best I can do.
Since this whole idea is based off of, you know, looking at a photo and saying, you know, how do I feel about that, and saying, it reminds me of this song, I'm going to upload it to the server and say, this should go with this picture. Have you thought of or considered possibly ever incorporating things like people's artwork, like not just photographs of people using a camera, but what if somebody drew like a really exceptional design and said, I feel like I drew this when I was feeling really pissed off. And I want to, and you know, put it in the server, and then, you know, you put it out to people and say, hey, the person that drew this said it made them feel you know, angry, so is this going to be an angry playlist, or do you feel something different, and kind of merging visual art and music in that really deep way?
Absolutely, it's a great question, and the answer is yes. And we say this is an image-driven streaming experience. It's image-driven playlist. It's not just photographs. And ultimately, by opening it up to users, as long as you have an import button and you have something, it could be a photograph. You could have drawn it in another app. It could be really anything. But I think there still has to be this layer of sort of official stations that are you know, preceded by different great photographers, and like it has to be a compelling image. If it just becomes one long wall of thousands of people's photos, it's going to be a graveyard of crap, because most of the photos are going to be terrible. And since you, at least for now, you have to manually assign music to it, if there'll only be one or two songs on each one, and it's not really a listening experience. So we want to ultimately have those two layers where you can have the stuff that you take, you draw with and build upon within your network, and then we have sort of the photos that we curate or we have guest curators, and again, those stations are defined by the community. That could completely change if we learn something new, but from all the feedback we've had so far, that's what makes the most sense.
Well, that's the difference between having a radio station that's curated or sort of curated. So, I mean, you have control over the quality of content, right?
Yeah.
And having this as sort of deployable to, having micro stations that people kind of do for themselves. So, I mean, there is for what Kira is saying over there is actually relevant in lots of different situations, because obviously people may want to, people want to contribute to this sort of the quality product. They might want to actually appropriate some of their own art, and when they make it their own, they usually kind of buy into you. But I would say that you can take that further, because obviously Kira was saying, what if someone takes a photo, draws a great design? I mean, you can so see that brands will then carry that forward, and it will be a picture of their product, and it will be asking you to do a playlist that, what do you associate with your product?
Yep.
Further on, we were talking about how we sonify our environments. If you follow that line of thinking, you could be then, that can over there could be, associated with particular moods as well. You could be asked as a consumer to sort of say, what does the brand offer you in terms of a mood experience, music mood experience?
Right.
So let's attach that to that can in real space. I could still be doing that because you'd be using my app, and I could be saying, hey, here's how I feel about that.
Yep.
That's the music I feel when I see that.
Yep.
So, that's a very mundane example. I'm looking at a can of a very, very famous brand, which I'm not going to mention because it's probably on camera. And as they say on the BBC in Britain, because it's a non-commercial organization, if you mention one brand like that, you'd have to mention the competitor brands as well, so just to make it equal.
We won't mention.
So that would make it complicated.
Yeah, we'll keep
so
it
I'm not going to
generic.
do that. But the nice thing about that is that you are. It doesn't have to be that object. It could be that you've come across an old Cadillac,
Yep.
and you've just taken an Instagram shot of this beautiful thing, and you just sort of said, hey, that's the music I think of when I look at this fabulous car. Effectively becomes the Instagram that's sonified, the sonified version of Instagram.
Yep.
That's really interesting. So as well as it being curated, I'm always up for curated content or rather moderated is probably the right word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moderated content is always good because you do get rid of the trash.
Mm-hmm.
But if you also open up the sonified Instagram option to this, once the community start providing input, that's really powerful.
Right.
But I would know what people think. There's no,
But the community is providing all the input. Like, we don't want to control this experience. We don't want to define what these are. We just want to put things out there and let the community define and create the sort of the rules here within a very simple structure. And this idea of, I was reading about constrained media. I don't know if any of you read Andrew Chen's blog, but he has some great stuff. And Snapchat is a constrained media product. Instagram, it does one thing, it does it really well. And we're not trying to be everything for everyone. We're trying to take this one thing and make this visual connection with music discovery very visceral, emotional, simple, and collaborative, and ultimately a community-driven experience. And there's other apps and other services that are doing these kinds of things. And what I break it down to, there's an experience of music consumption, and I'm listening to this, or there's distraction, which is like Instagram, where I'm just thumbing through and I'm listening to 10-second snips of a song with a photo, like a chorus basically editorializing a photo. And it could be a picture of a bulldog and someone puts bad to the bone and, bad to the bone, and you just hear that little thing, and then I go next, and then I get off at my train stop, I put my phone away, and I do another thing. This is, I'm going running in the winter frost for a half hour, or I'm waking up on a Sunday morning and I have all the morning to luxuriate in my kitchen making breakfast, and I want a soundtrack for that moment. That's the goal with what we're offering. Yeah.
So that's moodsnap.fm.
Yes, moodsnap.fm.
And it's MoodSnap FM on Twitter, not MoodSnap. That's somebody who takes photographs of the mood they're in, and they've done it twice.
Yeah.
I checked.
Yeah, it's MoodSnap FM on Twitter. And the last thing I'll say is that for now, it's for Spotify Premium users only, but very soon it's going to be open to anybody on iOS at first, and then other platforms once we achieve some milestones here. But very soon it's going to be available for anybody. It's just open to download and to use. So please keep an eye out.
Fantastic news. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
David Blutenthal, MoodSnap.
Thanks. Thank you.